What is up, everybody? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and we are back with another video on Nier Replicant. This time going over the endings and how many of them are there in particular. I thought it would be a good time to go over this subject considering that the remaster/remake, aka Nier Replicant version 1.22 something, is out in just a couple of weeks. Pressing onwards, I'd wager that more people have played Automata than they have the original, which makes sense. Automata received critical acclaim at the time of its release, unlike the original Nier, and of course everybody knows about 2B and her assets and the self-destruct mode shenanigans and whatnot, and so it just makes sense that people know more about Automata than they do the original. And so one of the questions I've seen be thrown around quite recently is how many endings does the original Nier have, and how many endings will the remake of the original have? You know, Automata had 26. Can we expect a similar number? And the short answer is no. I mean, Nier Automata had 26 different endings, sure. A lot of them were jovial, nonsensical, debaucherous, shall we say, to the point where if you got one of these early endings, sometimes you'd be a bit annoyed or a bit disappointed, you know, especially if you're a newcomer to the series who doesn't know how the game and its endings work, and you'd probably just be like, what is going on right now? But that is not the case in the original Nier. So the original Nier had 4 separate endings, which 4 separate endings itself can be called into question, considering that some of them lead on from the others, but you had endings A, B, C, and D. So, being intentionally vague here, you start off Nier for the first time, you're taking in all the sights and sounds, the amazing soundtrack, of course. You play it however you want to play it, you get to the natural conclusion, and that leads you on to Ending A. You view Ending A's credits, you save your game, you reload this completed save file, doing the air quotes here even though you can't see them, and that starts off your second playthrough. Perhaps you pick up some items or some weapons you didn't the first time. Perhaps you change up your playstyle to see if another playstyle would work. Maybe not. Maybe you just play it how you played it the first time round. You play it to its natural conclusion, and that leads you over to Ending B, which is somewhat of a continuation from Ending A, I guess. Obviously, the game counts them as separate endings, but continuity-wise, it kind of leads on, if that makes sense. Here's where things get interesting, though, because if you want to see Ending C and D, you're going to have to collect all of the weapons on this playthrough that you're doing, on your third playthrough, shall we say. If you don't collect all the weapons by the time you get to the end, or the point of no return, essentially, then you're out of luck. You're not going to get the ability to pick through these endings, which you're definitely going to want to if you want to see the proper conclusion to the story. But I digress. You pick up all the weapons in this playthrough, and you're given the option to pick between Ending C and D. Now, the game is going to push you to go towards Ending C first, and that is exactly what you're going to want to do, because Ending D, I guess you could say, is like the ultimate point of no return for the entire game, if that makes sense. So you get through to Ending C, you start off your 4th playthrough. It's the same thing though. You have to collect all of the weapons if you want to get to Ending D again. You can't just shortcut your way through just because you did it one time, if that makes sense. And that is essentially the gist of things when it comes to endings in Nier. One question that immediately springs to mind is any of this relevant to Nier Replicant version 1.2247? I'm going to call it the Nier Remake, everybody knows what I mean when I say that. But is any of this even relevant? Or am I just talking in circles? And that's a good question. One question that I can't answer for certain, but what I can say is that looking at the previews for Nier Replicant, one of the points that all the articles and the videos seem to be hammering home is that this is almost a one-to-one remake of the original. Sure, massive fidelity increase, graphical upgrade, gameplay overhaul, everything's redone, voice acting, soundtrack, whatnot. But they all seem to be hammering home that everything just plays out exactly how you'd expect it to if you played the original, so I assume the amount of endings has stayed the same. So there you have it. 4 different endings to get to. Not tedious to get to, in fact, at all. You don't have to do anything boring or inane to unlock these endings. Getting all the weapons is kind of easy in and of itself, and For all of the subsequent playthroughs after your first one, you don't actually start all the way at the beginning. You actually start a little bit just after the, I guess you could say, halfway point. After a big event, shall we say, without spoiling anything. But those of you who've played the original will know exactly what I'm talking about. Let me know down in the comments below though if you prefer Nier Automata's 26 different endings, or if you prefer the original Nier's straightforward and streamlined approach. And with all that said and done, that is going to round it out for this video. I'd like to thank all of you for watching. Do be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing. That way you stay up to date with all the latest content on the channel. It has been me, DevilNeverCry. I would like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.